Stress is an inevitable part of life, but what do you do when stress becomes harmful and begins to take a toll on your family?
We'll discuss this and more today on Real Family Talk. Join us. Welcome to Real Family Talk. During this episode, we're discussing practical ways to handle the stresses of life and deal with the uncertainties that come our way.
Indeed, life is full of uncertainties. Job changes, financial struggles, health concerns, and unexpected challenges can leave families feeling overwhelmed and anxious. How can we navigate the unknown with peace and resilience? Today, we'll explore practical ways to manage the stress of uncertainty, lean on God's promises, and strengthen family bonds in the process. Joining us as we discuss this important topic today are Cesar and Carol-Ann De Leon, directors of the Department of Family Ministries of the North American Division of Seventh-day Adventists. Cesar, Carol-Ann, welcome to Real Family Talk.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with the two of you.
Thank
This moment, at this
great
point.
to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think we should also say that you're both marriage and family therapists. Mm-hmm. So you come at this from several perspectives, from the biblical perspective, but also from the therapeutic perspective. So we're looking forward to this conversation today.
So are we.
So we're talking about stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
What is stress?
Wow.
It's stress. It's putting it simply in a simple manner, it's a very normal reaction, psychological, physiological reaction that we basically present when we are facing what we believe is either challenge or we are in danger. Now, when we talk about the psychological reaction, we're talking about we feeling anxious, irritated, afraid, wanting to either fight or flight, nervous, scared. Those are more the words that come around when we talk about the psychological effects of being stressful. Physiological, that's a different story. When we talk about physiological, we're talking about the response of the body towards this perceived danger. And that's when basically the sympathetic nervous system kicks in and either tells us fight or flight. And hormones are segregated in our bodies.
Especially cortisol, the stress hormone, the king of stress hormones.
Right.
Gets secreted.
Right.
Yep.
And basically our heart gets accelerated, the rate of heart just goes up. The pumping of the blood into the system is really rapidly also. Basically our bodies are getting ready to either fight literally to fight the threat and the danger that we are perceiving, or perhaps we need to,
run.
It's a bear and we need to run, then we run.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's what basically stress is.
Right.
So the question is all stress bad?
That's a good question.
Is there good stress? And are there
Absolutely.
levels of stress that are good for you?
There are different types of stress. This is the acute stress that I feel when, for instance, I'm going to come to this program and I get all stressed out. I'm going to be with Willie and Elaine Oliver.
there's no need
So
for you
that's
to
an
be
acute
stressed.
stress, all right? And it's usually a short period of stress that we experience. So once I get out of this building, I'm going to be relaxed and enjoy my life, right? So that's an acute stress. Now, there's the chronic stress, Carol-Ann.
And that's the bad stress, actually, because that acute stress, your body reacts, responds, and then it returns to homeostasis. So that's an okay response. The problem becomes when we live stressed out lives all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Chronic stress.
Right.
Always.
Sustained.
Yeah.
Sustained.
Sustained, so your
Doesn't go away.
body isn't able to go back to homeostasis to get ready for the next threat, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening, Elaine.
Right.
More than ever before in history is that whatever the parent, whatever our professions, whatever, you could be talking about a blue collar worker parent, a highly professional parent. Stress, chronic stress has really, I'm going to say, I almost use the word hijacked the American way of life, if you will. And the thing is that our children are Wi-Fi receptors that are feeling and experiencing every ounce and decibel of stress their parents are experiencing.
Plus, they're always connected.
Always
connected to what's happening in the world.
Feeling,
So what's
absorbing,
happening,
absorbing.
Carolyn, and I'm glad that you mentioned the macro world. We are going through a lot of transitions, and we are people that like to be in control because we are.
Who doesn't?
Because we like to have a routine, right?
Yes.
So when something gets us out of our routine, whether it be physically or psychologically, I get a little uneasy because we don't like changes.
Right.
Yeah.
And right now, the levels of stress and anxiety and fear are escalating.
Right.
And they're escalating because we're going through a lot of life-changing transitions that we are unable to control.
Right.
Social and political.
Social, political, cultural, and then you add the layer of just what's going on in the family.
No.
So there's a lot going on.
Now, but think of this. The changes that we are facing, some of them are changes that we can adjust and somehow, get by and go along with the waves
Flow.
of changes on the flow.
And go with the flow.
But there are some changes that are happening that are demanding life changes from us that are completely transforming the way we do life and the way basically that we see life and the way we are seeing our future. So these changes are affecting our future, and that's scary. When people are beginning to see that their future is being
Threatened.
threatened.
You're threatened.
Threatened.
The way we knew it.
When the future doesn't look so rosy anymore, people basically began to feel very
That's
anxious.
when they become depressed and they feel
Anxious,
hopeless, right?
yes.
But there is something I want to ask you as you were talking about this chronic stress. Aren't there some people that will tell you, I thrive on stress?
Yes.
That's what's called stress. Stress basically is the type of stress that you need to feel motivated. The stress that when you are going to go play a game, you feel stressed out because you feel all pumped out because you wanna do well in your test or in your game or whatever. So there is a stress that is a good stress.
A good
The
stress.
one that motivates you.
Right.
But not all stress is good.
Right. So we'll get back to that because I think there are a lot of people living with not good stress, but they think it's good.
Distress. They need distress.
Distress, yes.
It's time for us to take a short break, but when we return, we'll continue talking with Cesar and Caroline De Leon. Stay with us. Today on Real Family Talk, we are talking with Cesar and Caroline De Leon, directors of the Department of Family Ministries of the North American Division of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
So before the break, we were talking about the dilemma of stress, and we were just getting into identifying what is good stress, eustress, EU stress.
Yes.
But that there are some people who think they have good stress,
Yes.
but they really don't. What can you tell us about this?
So what happens is I can be a little bit like this because I tend to be a procrastinator. So I'll use myself as an example. So I've gotten used to through the years as I went through school that my husband would begin working on his 20-page paper when we were students together right at the beginning of the quarter. And your friend here would wait until the night before the paper was due. And I always told myself that
It would cause me stress, okay?
it would cause him a lot of stress. He'd laugh at me and think I wasn't going to do well. And then I would stay up that whole night and produce a fantastic paper that I attributed to my high stress. So I might have done some of that.
Yes.
But in reality, by the time you start feeling symptoms of stress, which would maybe be the typical, your neck gets stiff or sore, shoulders, or your stomach is a little queasy, your GI system is affected. By the time you have symptoms of some of the, stress, your stress is out the roof. So we can be experiencing a high level of cortisol in our system and be functioning and convince ourselves that we need it, we like it, this is how I function best. But it's not true, because the cortisol is affecting all of the organs of our body as we get used to. I call it, we almost become addicted to stress, if you will. Right? And it's not a positive thing physiologically, emotionally, because we do get a little shorter, a little more impatient, a little more irritable with our loved ones.
So there's a way
there's a consequence
to find out whether or not we are stressed out.
That's right.
When you start getting irritable,
snappy,
impatient, snappy.
That's right.
And you don't want to talk, or you respond in with bad mood.
Yes.
Those are the outer signs that you don't need to feel no pain in your body. But your attitude is telling you, friend, you are stressed.
You're stressed.
Too much.
And there's a high level of cortisol in your body, which is very detrimental. It's very dangerous.
Very.
So you started getting into it. But where we wanted to go next, this is Real Family Talk.
Yes.
How does stress affect the family unit?
You don't want us to go, this is going to get deep.
It's
going to get deep, and it's going to get personal.
Go deep.
Increased tension in the family is very common. And
what does that look like?
Well, basically, you were talking about, getting irritable, getting impatient, snappy, and you tend to lose your ability to be flexible. You become inflexible.
Rigid.
You become rigid.
My way or no way.
You stop talking to people, or you keep people away from you at a distance. Those are ways that basically you start showing that there is stress in the family, right?
So before you go through the list, I wanted to add something, honey, because we can do that.
Before you get stressed, right?
Before I get stressed with my list.
There's something I think that, and since you asked the wonderful question, I think that we would be remiss to not mention this. So stress in the family affects the developing brains of the children. I am a living proof of that. And my 3 siblings, one has passed, but my 3 siblings and I. And I say this with all respect, because we know our parents have the best intentions. They love us.
Would you allow me to go through a list and then we illustrate the list with your example?
Love that idea. Love the idea.
Because we need to talk about the tension in the family.
Yes.
We need to talk about the
increasing
conflict.
Yes.
People fighting all the time.
Increase in anxiety or worry of the parents that the children are absorbing and experiencing physiological
communication breakdowns. People stop talking to each other.
Or fighting.
Or you don't listen to the other person, or you don't validate the other person, or you become dismissive about the feelings and the emotions of the other person. Right? There's emotional withdrawal.
Cut off.
This cut off.
I'm not going to talk to you. I'm too stressed out. I'm going to pretend you're not in the house. Which really hurts kids.
And then children begin to experience changes in their own lives and their own attitudes and behaviors.
Sure they do.
Mood swings in children, right?
Mood swings.
Clingy or
getting away from parents, right? Because there's too much stress going on there. So tell us about your experience, Carol-Ann.
I lived it, and our children lived it. But I'll talk about me. So as my ministry parents, who loved us with all of their hearts and did so much better than their own parents did, I have to put that in there. Kudos to them, because of their own trauma stories. They did so much better than their upbringing. But nonetheless, we lived with chronic stress in their marriage. There was just chronic stress. And they had no idea, as we didn't, sort of.
It was normalized.
Well, and when you're a child, you don't know that your family isn't normal. You think that's all you know, so you grow up with it, right? And so without even knowing it, I was absorbing a lot of the emotional abuse that was going on, unbeknownst to my parents. I was absorbing it. I was secondhand emotionally abused, if you will, because just like if my parents had been smoking in the house and every kid breathes the smoke, we were all breathing that in. And it resulted, I am fully convinced, in my ADHD without hyperactivity.
Right.
So my developing brain was physiologically affected by the chronic stress in our well-intended ministry home where our parents were doing the best they knew with their stressed out lives, completely unaware, as we were, to what degree that chronic stress was impacting the developing brain of their 4 children.
So brain functioning and even the architectural of the brain changes. It is rewired, and even the growth, the level of the size of the brain changes when the child is being exposed to cortisol and chronic levels of stress.
Okay, we'll talk more with Cesar and Caroline de Leon when we return. They will share practical strategies to deal with stress. Stay with us.
We're back on Real Family Talk with Cesar and Caroline de Leon. We are talking about managing stress specifically in the family.
So Cesar and Caroline, thank you both for being here.
Oh, we're so
It's
happy.
a pleasure.
And for talking about all this stuff that is so crucial in the lives of families, and how it can affect families in so many ways.
Yes.
Physically, spiritually, emotionally, and can even impact to the second and third and fourth generation.
That's right.
Right.
It does.
This is definitely something we want to know more about. What can you say to our viewing audience about how to manage this in a way that will mitigate damage to their children or even between spouses?
Yes.
So much so that the rate of divorce goes up when there's stress.
That's right.
Abuse.
And children check out.
That's right.
They are more prone
At risk.
to be drug addicted
That's right.
and to
That's
get
right.
involved in
That's right.
at-risk behaviors.
That's right.
What do you say to families? You guys are experts. What do you say to families about this stress, how they manage it, what they do with it?
I would say that number one, self-awareness
Yes, number
is
one.
important. I need
as
to be
parents.
honest. I need to be honest with myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
I need to know myself. I need to know when I'm stressed out and when I am relaxing and calm. I need to know when I am angry, mad, upset, anxious, and when I am enjoying peace and harmony in my life. I need to know that. And I need to be aware where I am at every specific moment, because whatever I am is going to be affecting my marriage,
That's
like you were
right.
saying, Willie.
That's right.
And it's going to be affecting my children.
That's right.
So self-awareness is number one.
And it can even affect your neighbors, right?
Absolutely.
How you relate to your neighbors.
Big time.
Yes.
Big time.
How do you relate to people driving next to you?
There you
And
go.
that's our witness,
That's
right? So
right.
we're telling the world we're Christians.
That's right.
But our behavior doesn't reflect, right, that peace. And it's not about perfection.
No.
But just like if you're living with this chronic
Yes.
stress in your life and how it's impacting you. But self-awareness is key. How do we get someone to be self-aware?
Good
Because
question.
here's the issue again.
Well, I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you. Self-awareness does not come and visit and knock on your door and say, "Hi, I'm here to visit."
Right.
That's right.
It takes 100% intentionality.
Yes.
Right.
So my little hack, if you will, I have to go to bed early, to wake up extra early every morning, because I know that I need to ground myself, my soul, my mind, my heart. I need to get grounded as a mother and as a wife. If I don't ground myself in the Word, in my relationship with God, who He reminds me who I am to him. He reminds me what my true purpose for the day is, which isn't getting through my long list of dues, but it's to reflect his loving character in my marriage and love in my marriage and influence the home environment that my children are growing up in.
And you can do all that and still not be self-aware.
And that is so true. So I personally, Cesar, pray for self-awareness because you know what? I tend to run on clueless mode. That's just who I am.
Right.
So
that's your default.
So, that's
In other
my
words,
default.
people do things. They kind of know what they're doing it, but for the most part, people try to deceive themselves.
Self-deception.
And self-deception. And we give ourselves credit for being good, saint, or righteous or whatever.
Right.
And we don't recognize our true, really feelings and emotions that are going on in our lives.
Yeah.
A lot of us live with this facade of this mascara
False
of false self
Yeah.
that we are so used to living with ourselves.
Presenting.
So quickly, because I can hear a spouse watching the show, and now the husband or wife comes home, and they're irritated, and they're frustrated, and they're yelling at everyone, and then they say, "Look, I've had a tough day. You guys know what I need when I've had a tough day." But that doesn't justify bad behavior. So the spouse says, "Oh, I watched this great show, and it says that you're angry." But of course, no spouse should say that.
No.
But I'm just wondering if maybe you're a little stressed. But the spouse says, "I'm not stressed. I don't know what show you've been watching."
And that's denial. Yes, ma'am.
Lack of self-awareness.
That's exactly what we're talking about. And when that happens, a person that is spirit-oriented,
Connected to the spirit.
spirit-oriented,
Spirit-directed.
should be able to help the spouse that obviously needs help.
Right.
Needs to relax.
Because if you're saying, "I am not stressed out," what's wrong with you? The moment that I start acting with that attitude, I know that my spouse is stressed
That's right.
out. And it may need some help.
Yeah.
Honey, why don't you just go to our bedroom and go rest for a moment?
Or can I bring you a lemonade? Can I bring you a cold
How about something
juice or
better?
something?
I'm going to take off your shoes and you're going to relax.
mercy, I
You're going to
love it.
lean onto the couch there.
gonna rub
I'm
your
going to
feet.
rub your face.
Can you imagine?
love it.
Because some of us are not
beautiful.
aware
Yes.
how
Right.
stressed we are
Yes.
unless
Right.
somebody
So
uses grace
confrontation
and
doesn't help. Grace and
No,
compassion.
grace and
Compassion.
compassion. And how about we use the touch is practical stress. I like to, when I see you particularly stressed out.
I'm never stressed out.
I know.
It sounds like we're in the river.
Moments of denial. No, but what I like to walk up to my husband and I'll start doing the little hammering on his shoulders. And I can tell how stressed out you are, honey, because I'm doing it very gently, but he's like, ow, 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 that feels good, but ow, be careful. I know the stress is high. So I've learned through the years, don't think I did this all through my marriage. We've had a journey, huh, honey?
You have. Mine has been very good.
We're going to stick with denial today. I
How
understand.
many years, guys? How many years?
Only 30. We're going to be 38 in April.
38.
Congratulations.
April
Wow.
what?
April 12, I do remember.
guys-
I'm the one that forgets. He's the one that remembers. But so it's important that we realize we can be agents of ministry. And this is what I do every morning. Lord, today I give myself to you. I want to be an instrument of your healing love to my husband and anyone that comes into my sphere today. So I walk through my day. On a good day, I'm not. Don't
Right.
let you think that this is
Right.
like.
No, we
we're not
get it.
talking perfect. You said it.
Yeah.
We are imperfect, fallen, redeemed, adopted children of God, doing our best to stay connected to the fountain of serenity, peace, love, grace, compassion, mercy, so that I can be. And I used to be very reactive to your stress. I remember, just your tone of your voice would just throw me out into outer
So then you're
space,
both
and we were
stressed.
just both stressed, and we did a lot of that in our early years of marriage. And by God's grace alone, I've learned that I need to. It's going to sound weird. We can either be agents in God's hands, or we can be Satan's little helpers.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
add stress
But
to
let's
the
put it
other.
in the practical way.
Yeah, practical.
How then what do you do with your stress
Good
when
question.
you're going through stressful moments.
So I know what I do. I have to do a timeout on myself. I need to go to my bathroom, to my office in my home, shut the door. And sometimes I let out a little scream if I need to. Whatever needs to happen, I want it to stay in the room, and God and I will have a conversation.
Right.
I will let him know what is stressing me out, what is irritating me. And I will sit there and say, okay, Lord, that's what's on my heart. Can you please give me some shalom?
So take it to the Lord in
I
prayer.
take it to the Lord. I'm not going to go stress him out with my stress.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I'm not going to share if I had a challenge on the day.
Think of this. What is it that you need the most when you are afraid, when you are anxious, when you are worried, when something worries you? What is it that you need? You need to talk to somebody and have a listening ear.
Right.
In our family, when stress hits, and we're aware that we're living in stressful moments, and we need to now just take it for granted. Everybody's living in a very stressful
kids, adults,
society and life and family life. So we need to understand and know that we need to be willing to be listeners, good listeners, because people that are anxious and afraid and are worried and running high with stress, they need to be listened to.
Wonderful.
So bottom line, we need to be filled with the Spirit so that we are
connected,
producing the fruit of the Spirit.
There you go.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness,
self-control.
Self-control.
That's right.
Self-control.
That's the doozy.
Self-control.
That's the doozy.
Thank you so much, Carol Ann. I mean, this went way too fast.
know.
We definitely have to have you back.
Indeed. In times of stress, uncertainty, and difficulty, remember to go to Jesus. In him you will find peace. In Matthew 11:28 through 30, he says, "Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light."
Thank you for watching Real Family Talk. Join us again when we'll share more about strengthening families and inspiring hope. See you next time.